the department, his vision for the department, the future of the department, so that, for example, tonight, he can be here to share that all with you, rather than doing that or having that expectation on day one. So first, I'd like to say thank you to City Council for their unanimous support for the confirmation. You know, to Council President Craig Burnt, Council Vice President Brad Hoagland, Joe Borton, Lou Kavanagh, Jessica Pro, and Liz Strader. It was a great time for the team to come together and help bring unity into the city and into the department as we move forward. So this evening's town hall is pretty straightforward and simple, but it's also very important. It is about the future of the Meridian Police Department, and specifically Chief Basterchea's vision for the department. I encourage you all to listen to him this evening, and if you have questions, the chief will get to them at the end of his remarks. So with that, I would like to introduce to you our 15th Chief of Police for the City of Meridian, Chief Tracy Basterchea.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for this opportunity. First of all, let me repeat how humbled, honored, and proud I am to lead the men and women of the Meridian Police Department and to serve this amazing community. Just a little bit about myself for some of you who do not know me. You will get to know me a little more on a personal level. I'm the son of an immigrant. My father came to this country in 1952 on a sheep herding contract. My dad and mom ran a long-haul trucking company for many years and put my brothers and I through college. I've been married for as long as I've been a police officer. My wife thought that she was going to be marrying a teacher and a wrestling coach, and surprise, I ended up going into law enforcement, following my oldest brother's footsteps. Outside of work, I enjoy coaching many sports and teaching as well, but mostly I like to teach and coach in martial arts of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Kodokan Judo, in which I hold a black belt in both. My family and I also enjoy camping, hiking, and we are very involved in the local Basque community. I started my career with the Meridian Police Department in 1996, and I've worked here ever since. I've had the pleasure of working in a variety of positions and in every division within the department. From the beginning, I have been very involved in teaching arrest and control tactics and other disciplines related to police use of force. Over the years, the Meridian Police Department has developed a great reputation on how we police and for the culture we have built both internally and externally. To provide the highest quality of service and partnership with our community, to preserve and protect life and property through education, prevention, and enforcement. That is our mission at the Meridian Police Department. The Meridian Police Department is a premier policing agency striving to serve our community in an ethical, constitutional, and dedicated policing model. We are here to serve all members of our community with dignity and respect, regardless of the type of contact. We are here to make a positive impact on people and work in cooperation with our community. We have active and highly visible officers engaged in the following to help keep and create that small town feeling. Our officers are constantly interacting in a positive manner with our community, whether on a traffic stop or just stopping to say hello while patrolling a neighborhood or one of our many parks. They do the little things, such as alerting a homeowner to an open garage door and conducting vacation watches, explaining the purpose behind all of our interactions with our citizens. For instance, we use the term, "The reason I stopped you today is because you were driving 50 in a 35, versus, "Do you know why I stopped you?" We're not out there trying to do the "I gotcha" game. We're there to interact and work cooperatively with our community. We have a highly trained workforce focused on their proper roles as members in the community. In partnership with our community, Meridian will remain one of the safest cities in Idaho. Providing effective training and educational opportunities to our employees may be one of the most important things that we do. Continual review of our policies and practices, continual research of innovative ways to intercept criminal activity. We have youth-focused educational and mentoring programs, such as Alive at 25, a kids' judo program, and we are exploring other innovative ways to connect with our youth, such as implementing a Youth Citizens Academy this upcoming summer, COVID allowing. Our officers and our employees are consistently attending HOA meetings and meeting with our business community. We have regular and consistent opportunities for our community to interact with the police. As I mentioned before, our public safety program or our public safety academy is just not enough, and that is why we are implementing a youth safety academy. We're implementing more involvement with MIAC, the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, and more involvement with the Treasure Valley Safety Summit for Youth. So how do we fulfill this vision? There are several things we're going to focus on moving forward. Internally, I look to continue building upon the overall health and work environment for our employees. I am a firm believer in the idea that happy and engaged employees make for healthy, productive employees. The physical and mental well-being of our first responders needs to be pushed even further to the forefront if we are going to be successful. As a city, we're already well on the way to part of my vision, which is continuing to provide our citizens with quality and efficient service, which has been earned and ultimately expected by our citizens. Building precincts is one of the other things that we're looking at possibly doing. It will help us deliver a more efficient service to our citizens in the south of Meridian and the northwest of Meridian. The greatest challenge that I foresee is the personal connectivity amongst command staff if we are successful in doing this, and our officers and employees working out of these possible precincts. Our command staff recognizes this challenge, and we are already working on ideas to minimize the natural silos created by distance while providing more accessibility. Use of force in law enforcement has been greatly criticized, and in many cases rightfully so. So this is why I have been working with USA Judo in developing a police judo program to better protect our citizens and our officers. It is also why I've been involved as a member of a focus group working on a Department of Justice grant called ADAPT, which will be the most comprehensive research project to develop a new United States defensive tactics training model to date. In addition, we are working on a project with the Washington State University to better evaluate our uses of force and our interactions with our citizens, utilizing our body-worn camera footage. We are working to find better and more efficient ways to deliver arrest and control training to our officers in a goal of making them more proficient when it comes to controlling combative subjects. We must explore more ways of utilizing non-sworn personnel to replace some of the officers' tasks. Community service officers are an example of this. It's one of the non-sworn tasks that we utilize now. Easier to hire, faster to train, and cheaper than an officer. We can also use some of these non-sworn positions to grow future police officers. That is one of the things that we have done so far by transferring 2 community service officers into our patrol division. Our city is changing greatly demographically, and we've already begun forging relationships with those who are, or feel they are, part of an underserved group. This is key to our success. Continuing to build a culture of service to our community and each other is vital for these successful interactions and relationships. Even with rapid growth, we know the city of Meridian has opportunities to hold on to that small town feel. We have to find a way to attract the best talent to our organization, and that also includes a diverse workforce and increase our pool of applicants. Some of the challenges we know we are going to face moving forward is holding on to the culture that we have built. Meridian Police Department has become known for the positive culture of service to our community and one another. How do we enhance and maintain this culture? One is making sure that we know we are attractive to lateral officers coming from other parts of the country. But we have to make sure that we do our best in finding the lateral officers who are going to fit our culture and our community the best. Policing is not the same in Meridian, Idaho, as it is in other parts of the country. And we have to make sure that we maintain the type of policing our community deserves. With a large number of retirements facing us in the upcoming year and in the future, we need to focus on our recruiting and find more effective ways to reach potential candidates. Retention is vital during this time, and we must remain competitive in benefits available to our officers and employees. This includes pay, health care, and unique ways to keep our officers here. We have to do a better job of recruiting people who have never been police officers before, and realize some of our best candidates are right before our eyes, working in other professions. We have to find ways to get these community-minded people to leave the current profession they're in and join the police force. We have to message our culture in a more effective manner to those who wish to be part of our great agency. We have to emphasize the Meridian way. We need to continue working towards diversifying our workforce by finding more qualified female candidates, more qualified minority candidates. And diversifying our workforce includes looking to diversify in ideas. This is an ongoing process, and we cannot lose sight of this. We cannot cut corners on our hiring standards or practices. This has proved disastrous for other agencies across our country. We talked about providing more effective training to our officers. One of the ways we need to do this is by adding training staff. As we add officers, it is imperative to grow our training staff to provide better, more efficient training, which does not impact our patrol staffing levels. Mental health interactions between the police and the public have to be put at the forefront. Police are still the frontline responders to people suffering from mental health issues, even though public policy experts agree that this is not the best path. We have to be better utilize mental health professionals under the purview of the police department to work for long-term solutions when dealing with those who suffer from mental illness. Police and sheriffs and mental health professionals need to lobby for changes in the laws and more funding for mental health. Utilization of civilian personnel, I've already touched on, but it is one of those things that we need to be able to do, working hand in hand when dealing with these mental health types of calls. One of the other ways we've already talked about delivering more efficient services to our public is through the possibility of precincts, but we also need to reevaluate how our organizational structure looks from the top down. We need to make sure that we have our span of control covered so that we don't have supervisors who are supervising too many officers or too many employees. We may need to evaluate varying work schedules to make sure we are providing the best service for our community. And we need to make sure that we are leveraging technology in ways to make us more efficient and to help us combat crime. For instance, utilizing real-time crime stats and analysis to become more efficient, and better use of cameras throughout our community for solving crimes. We need to look at expanding our victim services and look for opportunities to co-locate with organizations such as the Family Justice Center or FACES. And we need to build upon our internal victim services. We need to ensure that our officers are both physically and mentally resilient. We need to provide for reminders for our officers, evaluate staffing models to provide more quality time off for officers, and look at focusing on improving the quality of our communication to our officers. Encourage leadership to get out and work in a patrol car or work with and learn a non-sworn employee's job. And provide more opportunity for quality engagement between our employees and our command staff. The call for police reform isn't going away anytime soon. We need to acknowledge the need for reform and realignment. Many times the problems that we find with terms like defund the police is even though we all speak English, we're not all speaking the same language. We need to look at how do we realign our officers and realign our employees to better serve the community. We cannot pander to special interests. We have to evaluate what we are doing and lean into what the best practices suggested are in the community and nationwide. In conclusion, I will end with this. These are things I feel are important to us as we move forward. But policing is constantly changing, and some of these things may change in priority. Policing is dynamic and ever-changing. If a police leader is to be successful, they must realize this and be prepared to shift priorities and work to forecast the emerging issues. I work very, very hard to be this type of police leader. And I want to make sure that the public understands that whatever decision that we make as a police agency, that decision will be made based upon what is best for our community, and it will be based upon respect and dignity for all of our members of the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief, for giving us a glimpse into the department, as well as you as a leader and about where we need to go. I think the community heard a lot of amazing things, but also heard a lot of things that we need to be focused on as we look at the department into the next decade as a growing community. At this time, we will be taking any questions, so please submit those in the comments on Facebook or through the chat feature on Zoom. If you don't have access, you can also submit questions to townhall@meridiancity.org. While we give people a second to do that, maybe, Chief, if I could just get you to maybe talk about your view on drug-related issues here in our community.
One of the things that I am passionate about are drug issues in our community. I learned when I worked undercover for over 5 years that most of our societal problems, especially when it comes to theft and fraud and domestic abuse, stem from some type of substance abuse. So you're not going to find a chief who is pro-legalization here. And I think that when we look across the country, when we look at states who have gone down that road, we've seen that this is a failure. It's a failure to our next generation of kids who are going to be growing into adults. And it's a failure to the current generation and to our communities. So that is certainly one of the things that you will never find me in support of.
All right, we are watching all of the Facebook comments and the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen that can also be done through your mobile device. If you do have any questions for the chief, he is here to answer those. So you can submit those in the Q&A function. If you're calling in on your phone, you will be able to submit your questions through email at townhall@meridiancity.org, or you can drop your questions in the Facebook Live as well. And we are watching for any of those comments. The chief would love to take any of your questions at this time.
Maybe we have a question? Okay, we do have a couple questions, so I'm going to step back and let the chief come back up.
All right, they're rolling in now. So this one is making up for it with two parts. Thanks, Chief, for the great overview. Two questions. One, you laid out a lot of initiatives and topics. How do you anticipate communicating the status of those items as you move into this new role as you go forward?
One of the things I think that you will find with me is I will be a very, very public chief of police. And as our department moves forward on these initiatives, one of the things that I know that police have not done well over the years is promote the good things that they do and promote the progress that police departments have made. And so that is a priority for us, and we will be doing that through town halls such as this, as well as on different social media platforms. We are going to be looking for many, many ways for myself and our commanders and our officers to interact with the public on a very personal basis.
Great. Part two of this question is, are you concerned about, or what steps do you commit to take for any members of the department that may be sympathetic to domestic extremist views, which we have seen a dramatic rise in recent future?
Well, that's a wide-ranging topic. Anybody who is a member of an extremist organization that has been actually deemed that through federal statutes will be punished or dismissed depending on their level of involvement. One of the things that we have to realize is that even though people are police officers, public safety employees, they do have a right to the First Amendment, just like everybody else. They have all the rights that span for every citizen, but there is a point where that does cross the line and they can be terminated or disciplined, and we will take those steps.
Great. Next question is, what is your stance and or opinion on firearms and home defense?
Again, I'm a firm believer in the constitutional rights of people, so strong supporter of the Second Amendment, and every situation is unique, so I can't give you a blanket statement. If you're trained and you know how to use a firearm and you can secure it safely if you have children at home, yes, you absolutely have a right to defend yourself in your residence, whether it's utilizing a firearm or any other weapon. So that's pretty much our stance. I can't give you a blanket statement because, like I say, each case is unique and has to be judged upon the elements of that case.
All right, our next question is from Facebook. Where can someone go to get additional information about your training programs and volunteer opportunities?
So they can contact our crime prevention unit. They have access to some of our volunteer opportunities, or they can just call the police department at 888-6678 and ask to talk to our volunteer coordinator.
I'll add on that as well. That question came in from Facebook, but Facebook is also a great place to watch for that information as well. Another question from Facebook. Congratulations, Chief, on your promotion. You've been a huge advocate for our community and we appreciate you. Can you please tell us how your department is dealing with some of the negative issues revolving around policing in other parts of the country?
Sure. One of the things that, whether it's with our officers or whether it's talking to people in the community, that I like to point out is don't bring those issues here. Those issues belong where they're at. We are forward thinking. We look at use of force issues throughout the country to learn from them, as well as use of force issues that are more germane to our local community. We can always learn. However, don't bring the negativity here. Our community isn't the same as those communities. Some of the policing issues that you see in various communities throughout the country aren't issues here. And we are very, very adamant when we talk to our officers about our expectations. whether they're coming from somewhere else or whether they're a homegrown officer right here in Idaho. We want to make sure they understand that every contact they have should be a positive contact. Even if it's an enforcement contact, those contacts can be positive. You never know how you affect somebody with your interaction. I always tell my son, so try to make sure that that interaction is a positive one.
All right, this is the last question we have unless anybody else submits in the meantime. And you probably just answered most of this, but with the talk nationally about defunding the police, how will you make sure the community really understands your services and what it means when people say that? Again,
And it depends on who you talk to. Some people, when they say defund the police, they literally mean defund the police department. They literally mean disband the police department. Others, when they use that term, are just talking about utilizing the funds that are available to the police department to be more innovative in how you do your policing, such as using mental health coordinators, using mental health professionals that work hand in hand with your police officers in dealing with these issues. Some of these issues a police officer is going to have to respond to no matter what. And the question then becomes is, how long does that officer need to be on scene? Can they do better with a mental health professional riding in a patrol car with them, or having a special unit that's dedicated to just those types of calls? And so those are the things that when we talk about those terminologies, we need to make sure we're very clear about that. And whenever I'm asked about that, whenever our officers bring it up, those are the things that we point out to them. Our view isn't defunding. Our view is how do we better utilize those funds to provide better services to our community.
Great, thank you, Chief. Another question. There is a growing population in Meridian, and with that, I've seen an increase in petty theft and property destruction. How will you keep on top of our growing population and increase in crime within our neighborhoods?
Well, one way is certainly more patrols, more visible patrols. Just having more patrol officers on the road going through those neighborhoods, they act as a deterrent. One of the other things that works as a deterrent that people don't realize is traffic stops. Traffic stops, oftentimes we may be stopping somebody for a moving violation or maybe even a non-moving violation, and we end up intercepting somebody who is on their way to commit a crime and decides they've just been stopped by a police officer, so they have a change of thought process on that. Or we stop somebody who has just committed a crime, or maybe they've got warrants and we're able to take them into custody. The one thing that I think we've seen nationwide that we do not want to see here is the thresholds allowed for some of those crimes, those theft crimes where, it's really not, we're not going to prosecute somebody who's stolen if they haven't stolen anything over $1,000. We don't want to see that here. We want to make sure that if somebody is depriving you of your property, if they're defacing your property, that they face the proper punishment.
Another question on growth, Chief. With the growing number of apartment complexes in the area, do you patrol the complexes or have these areas assigned to officers like other neighborhoods?
So that's a very good question, and it's actually something that we're looking at currently is, are those complexes, are they taking up more officers' time or not? We're actually doing crime analysis of that right now. And really what we try to do is, and don't point to the apartments because those apartments aren't always the headaches that people think that they are. We do crime analysis throughout the city, and that's what drives our patrol shifts. We are going to go where crimes are occurring. And sometimes people lose sight of that, and they think that you're patrolling a certain neighborhood because of certain demographics. That's not the case. We're going to where our victims are.
Great, that's all that I have right now for questions coming in. You have a few more minutes if you get a question in, or you can always submit questions to us to be answered at a later time, townhall@meridiancity.org. That's all I see for you right now, Chief.
Well, I hope the community can definitely sense the chief's passion, leadership, and vision. And I hope it encourages those that are living here and maybe those that are considering moving here when they hear the importance of public safety and the viewpoint of our chief and the willingness to get out there and share that people have a great sense of what our community is about. So thank you, Chief, for sharing that this evening. And thank you for those that were able to watch this evening, submit your questions. If you're watching this after, at a later date and time, and you want to submit questions and get feedback, please continue to do that, and we'll be happy to get questions. Maybe we'll put the chief on camera again and let him just answer those questions and post it alongside this video or something innovative like that, because we like to be innovative when we can. Real quick, as we close the evening, we're just going to give you a couple of upcoming events so that you can, we're hopefully, as we come out of COVID, there's opportunities for people to get engaged. And upcoming events is something that's being done. First one is Meridian Has Heart. In February, we challenge you to show it in whatever way makes sense. Draw a heart on the sidewalk, leave a card in the mailbox for your mailman, donate a little extra time to your favorite charity, buy coffee for the person behind you in the drive-through line. But wherever you are during this month, it is Valentine's Day month. It's also just a great opportunity for us to showcase how much we care as a community. There is a Compass 101 classes that you can sign up to participate in at the times listed on your screen. And that's a great way to get to know more about the Community Planning Association, which helps us as cities all work cooperatively together on the growing needs of our Treasure Valley. So I'll assume that we did not receive any further questions at this point in time. All right. Well, thank you very much to the community. Hopefully you enjoyed this 35 minutes, and we look forward to our next opportunity to engage.